All right, it's Thursday night, time for a Las Vegas Triathlon Club member spotlight. I'm John Mercer, president of Las Vegas Tri Club. Got Bob Gamble, co-host and board member of the club. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Oh, it's going fine, John. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, are you ready to talk with Quinn Luu?
I cannot wait to
Yeah,
talk to Quyen Luu about this. And for everybody who's listening, this is going to be a
yeah.
very interesting story. So go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, that's great. So Quinn got involved with the club this past year and stepped forward and wanted to be part of the planning. And so she's now an ambassador for the club. So thank you, Quinn, for doing
Woo!
that.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
No, that's great. And so that's a lot of fun to have you on board there. And this is great to get to know your triathlon journey. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob for the official introduction.
All right, thank you, John, and welcome again, Quinn. And for everyone, this is Quyen Luu, and Quyen Luu is, as John mentioned, is our new ambassador, and she's going to be handling some social aspect coordination and events. And you can tell just by the vibe you get from Quinn that she's going to be really good at this. She's very person.
Bob.
Say again, please.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, she's very personable and very and outgoing, and I don't believe she's very shy either. So she is perfect for the spot, and we are very excited to have her in the club as an ambassador. And for those of you who don't know Quinn, she's got one of the most unique stories
Mhm.
in starts to triathlon I have ever heard. And normally, if I will start off when people have done a full Ironman, the normal thing that I say is they have done everything from sprints through Ironman, but Quinn hasn't. She, she started off with her first triathlon as a 70.3,
Uh,
which I'm not sure I've known anybody who has done that.
uh,
And so she started off with the Hawaii 70.3 half Ironman, then went to one of the hardest triathlons there is, the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon, and then went to I Am California. And so it's like that's just incredible. It's amazing. So just to get started, first of all, welcome and thank you so much for being on, Quinn. But
Thank you for having me.
explain this. How did you get started in doing your first triathlon as a half Ironman? It-
It was kind of on a whim. I wasn't an athlete at all throughout life. In high school, I just did cross country and track to meet the minimum physical education requirements. And I remember watching the Escape from Alcatraz on TV as a kid. And that's when I first heard about triathlons being a thing. And I thought in my head, oh, that's cool. And kind of filed it away and forgot about it. So all throughout college, I didn't work out at all, gained a lot of weight. And then in grad school, one of my good friends did triathlons, and she actually got me to start running. I remember running my first mile after years and years of not running, and it was such a struggle. And so I started running, and I would do half marathons and marathons for fun, but I didn't own a bike, and I didn't really swim. And then so in maybe late 2018, I finally purchased a decent road bike that I could ride for long distances. And my apartment complex in DC had a swimming pool. And so I would swim a little bit. And then randomly, I'm like, I want some new challenge. And just looking at Ironmans because I was familiar with the brand. And I saw that they had one in Hawaii, and I really wanted to go to Hawaii, and the timing was perfect. So I signed up for it, and just decided to go and do it.
uh,
there's a few things to unpack there. You said you do half Ironman, half marathons and full marathons for fun, which those aren't exactly easy races to jump into. So must have some incredible natural abilities.
Just a lot of endurance, I think,
And
and
you do have some
a
endurance.
high pain tolerance.
And then as far as for Alcatraz, What was it that interested you in Alcatraz?
So
Wait 1 second. For those who don't know what Alcatraz is, those members or listeners, I mean, there's a, correct me if I'm wrong, Quinn. It's a 1.5 mile swim in some very heavy seas. Jump off a
oh
boat
yeah,
and swim in. And
yeah,
San
in the San
Francisco Bay
Francisco
is
Bay.
rough with a lot of current.
Yeah, I
And then
mean, it
there's
could be a little choppy. But luckily when I did it, it wasn't too bad. The water was actually fairly warm because it was in August, when it's typically in June. But in 20, I think it was 2021, they had it in August because of COVID. It had been delayed. And so how I ended up doing that was I was just on Facebook and I got a targeted ad like sign up for the Escape from Alcatraz lottery. And I was like, "Ooh, I'll sign
I'll
up
take it.
just to see if I get in." And I got in and I felt like it was meant to be because it's not usually in August, and it was in August and happened to be the weekend of my birthday because my birthday is August 13.
Oh, the stars
So
lined
I
up
just
just
thought
right.
it was all meant to be. And so I went and did it, and it was one of the best experiences.
So the temperature of the water was what, 65 instead of 55? I mean,
I think it was maybe 62.
it's still cold.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you've done 3 of the coolest triathlons there is.
Well,
So
I want to
go
jump
ahead,
in.
John.
And I want to hear a little bit more about. I want to hear about Hawaii 70.3, but now you've intrigued me about the Alcatraz race. Tell us what that swim start was like, and tell us again. People may not know that swim start.
Yeah,
Oh
and you have to
yeah,
jump off a very high boat
Oh,
to get into the water.
yeah, so I'm not a strong swimmer at all. That's probably the weakest of my disciplines. And so I was so nervous. We all pile onto the ferry and we're all on the deck of the ferry, just sitting there in our wetsuits, and waiting for the ferry to get to the spot by Alcatraz Island. And I was so nervous. I was
Pretty
talking to the
understandable.
people next to me. I'm like, I'm so nervous. And they said, "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine." And so they get to the spot and they announce, "Okay, we're gonna start." And people just walk to the edge and jump off. And I was one of the last ones off because I was so scared. So we would stand there and see people jump off one at a time, one at a time. And they just jump into the water and start swimming toward the shore. And it's a crazy feeling. And
How
once
high
you're-
was the jump?
maybe it was 10 feet. It wasn't small.
Mhm.
But once you're in, it's like, okay, you gotta go. There's no turning back because you can't get back on the boat. So
So let me ask you, when you signed up for it, did you know about that?
yes, I knew
Did,
about it.
oh, I love it. So you knew, and you said you weren't a strong swimmer, but yet you knew that this swim was going to be a challenge. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that is.
Uh,
And after you've done Alcatraz, you can no longer say that you're not a strong swimmer.
Yeah.
You just can't.
I guess I can swim. Thanks to some coaching I've received from Coach Dax.
Yes.
that's
I'm a
great.
Very-
lot better now, but I still have a lot of work to do if I want to be a good swimmer.
Dax is a very good swim coach.
Yes, he is.
So you had to jump in and not jump on anyone, and also get out of the way in case anyone's behind you, right?
Oh yeah. There, I would read on forums what the strategy is to jumping because I did not want to get jumped on. So
Yeah.
people say jump to the left,
Yeah.
and people just take turns, and it was crazy. And once you jump in, you got to swim as fast as possible away from the boat.
Yeah.
So that's the strategy.
Oh, I love it.
What were the seas like? What was the chop and the waves like?
It was choppy, but I spoke to because I did the aquathon the day before, and so I ran into the woman that won that aquathon race. The aquathon was a 750-meter swim or yards and a 5K run.
Hmm.
So that was the first year they had the aquathon, and you could do both and get a special treat. There was like a mug that they gave away to participants in both. And so I spoke to the woman who won that, and she said, I love swimming in choppy water. You just got to kind of feel the waves, because in the ocean, it's pretty steady. So once you get that rhythm, you just swim to that rhythm. And so I kept her advice in the back of my head, and that's how I managed that swim.
Wow, that's so impressive.
I love it. So what was it like when you finally reached the shore?
I was so happy. I was one of the last ones, and so the kayaks were following me to make sure I made it. And oh my gosh, I was just so thrilled to be done.
Oh, that's great. So then you jump on your bike, and what was the bike like? Because that's no joke either.
Oh yeah, the bike's actually easier than I thought it would be, because I thought San Francisco, like, super hilly.
Right.
But actually, the Friday before, I believe it was the Friday, there was actually a tribute ride for Tom Traeger. Because there was, like, he and I shared the same birthday, August 13, and so they were having a tribute ride for him.
Okay.
And that tribute ride went through the whole course. So I was able to ride the course with a group to kind of get to know it. And the course was actually not so bad. There were a couple of bigger hills, but they were very short. So it wasn't that bad at all, as you would think San Francisco would be.
And you did them on your road bike?
Yeah, I did it on my road bike.
Good. No, I think that's supposedly a good course for a road bike.
Yeah.
And then the run, though, was also, that's supposed to be brutal.
Oh yeah, the run is crazy. I don't know if people are familiar with I forget what the stairs are called, but the
sand stairs or something, the sand stairs.
Yeah,
what
the
they call them?
Stairs. It's very hard. You just try to get up and your legs won't move, or my legs were moving. I was like, come on. In my mind, I wanted to go, but my legs had a hard time. But that was really interesting. Lots of hills on the run, and running through sand on the beach.
And this was your second race at this point?
Yes.
Your second triathlon ever.
Oh my goodness. So
that is amazing.
Crossing the finish line of Alcatraz, that you must have felt good.
Oh yeah. There's the finished photo of me. I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, actually, all three of my finished photos, I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's back up to your first one then, 70.3 Hawaii, which that's a hot and humid race. So how did you go? Talk a little bit about how you trained for that, given that was going to be your first triathlon and your first 70.3.
So I didn't actually have an official training program. I think I downloaded maybe the free one from Ironman and kind of followed it and just made sure I could run the distance and bike the distance and swim the distance, but didn't really train for it. And like, as one should train for it. And so for that race, I barely made the cutoffs, but I wasn't hurting after that race. And so I thought to myself, oh, I should do a full, because this wasn't that bad. And so that was the year I signed up for Cozumel, Ironman Cozumel.
Okay.
And so I had the same level of training for that as I did for the half, which was not really much. And Cozumel just kicked my butt. The full is completely different from the half, as I soon discovered.
I didn't know you had done that one too.
Pardon?
I did not know you had done Cozumel as well.
I tried Cozumel in November, right after the half. And I got pulled from the swim because I wasn't going to make the cutoff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I heard Cozumel, the swim was with the current, and so it's supposed to be fast. But I think that year it was doing weird things.
Yeah.
And
Depends on what the tide's doing.
yeah, and so I was not quite halfway, and this jet ski pulls up to me, and they said, "Hey, you're not halfway yet, and you only have 40 minutes left. I think for your safety, you should get out." And I said, "Okay."
Mhm.
But it was after that I decided that I have to finish a full. So
Oh,
now that I didn't finish that, it was my goal to finish a full Ironman, and that's what I set out to do.
well, you were not alone at that year because I know that that year was notorious for the water going in the wrong direction, and
Mhm.
a lot of people got caught up in that. So you definitely weren't alone in that experience. But I love that tenacity that you're showing. That sometimes when your race doesn't go the way you want it to go, it sort of motivates you to do it again or to try again. So that's great
Yeah,
to hear.
and I want to
It
go back
wasn't,
someday and have a Cozumel rematch.
I love it.
oh, yeah, and there's no doubt in my mind, you're gonna kick its butt the second time. I like as to follow up with what John just said. I like the fact that, you just with energy said, okay, well, I still have to do a full. You signed up for another one, and that was, and how soon after Cozumel did you sign up for California?
So I signed up when they first announced that they were going to have a California one. I signed up for it. And so that was the year that it was a bunch of COVID happening. So I think they had to cancel it because of COVID and push it to the following year, I believe.
Yeah.
So the following year I went, and that was when the bomb cyclone came through and canceled
Yeah.
that.
It
And
was
then
canceled 2 years in a row
Yeah.
for
yeah,
you,
yeah. Once from COVID and then once from the bomb cyclone.
right?
And then I believe, but I could be wrong,
No,
remembering.
I
It's
think
been
you're
a
right.
while.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, really.
And then so because of that, I had signed up for Ironman Arizona actually.
Hmm.
But then because of like scheduling and rescheduling, the Ironman Arizona was going to be only a month after Ironman California. And so I begged them to move Ironman Arizona to Ironman St. George.
Yeah.
And so I could have done Ironman Arizona because California ended up being canceled because of the bomb cyclone. But so now I'm doing Ironman St. George and then Ironman California. And then I tried St. George and I finally made it through the swim, which was really exciting for
Yeah.
me. This was after Coach Dax's help.
Yeah.
And the bike killed me though, because by the time I got on my bike, the wind had started to pick up, and I was banking on being able to go really fast on the downhills to make up for the climbs. And just with the wind, I just couldn't get as fast as I needed to make up the time. And so I finished the bike, but I didn't make the cutoff. And so they wouldn't let me run.
Yeah.
So I was 2/3 done with the Ironman, and luckily I had Ironman California next, and I finally was able to put everything together and finish.
All right. Boy, talk about persistence and dogged determination. That's impressive. And what year did you do California?
This past
22.
2022, October 2022. And so St. George was May 2022.
I love this story. And,
Absolutely.
being able to do the swim at Cozumel, but not being able to do the bike and the run. Then you go to St. George, which is a notoriously hard course. And I also DNF that course, so I know we're there together. And you got the swim and the bike done that time, which is a huge accomplishment. And that did not sway you at all from continuing your going
I
after an
felt like I
Ironman.
had it in me. I was mad after St. George because I thought to myself, I could have done it if I had just
Yeah.
pushed a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because I only missed the bike cutoff by maybe half an hour.
Oh,
But still,
well,
the wind,
Yeah.
oh, and I didn't do it, but I understand that the wind was
Mhm.
brutal
Yeah.
on
well,
that course.
I love that. I mean, you say you weren't an athlete early on, when you're younger, but this determination that you're showing is really tremendous.
Thanks.
I
Mhm.
love it. So now tell us about Ironman California.
Oh,
You're on
yes.
the start line, and you knew that you're going to try to do all three of
Mhm.
sections at this point. I mean, were the nerves pretty high at that point, or were
Yeah,
you feeling pretty
I was
good?
pretty nervous. I always have trouble sleeping before the races, but for Ironman California, I felt like I really needed to sleep, and so I took some melatonin. I don't know if I recommend that for everyone, but it worked for me. I slept like a baby, and I woke up very refreshed
Yeah.
Mm.
and ready to go. And I was actually running late for that morning of the race, and it was crazy to get on the buses, and I thought I was going to miss the beginning of the race, but I managed to make it by the time my swim group started, and I
Yeah.
decided to start in a super fast swim group because um I learned in like I feel like starting in the back, even though I'm a slower swimmer, might not be the best idea because I just feel like the earlier you start,
Hmm.
the earlier you can get on the bike,
Yeah.
and the weather
Mhm.
always seems to get worse as the day goes on if it's windy. And so I started fast and I made it out in good time. But that didn't help with the wind on the bike because
That's right. That was a windy
It
yeah,
was
race
windy the
too.
entire course,
Oh,
as I
yeah,
understand.
yeah. It was pretty rough. Uh and so I had a goal time in mind. Um I wanted to finish in under 15 hours and I
okay.
thought I could do it. But with the wind, it took me so long on the bike that my goal just went out the window and I just wanted to finish.
Mhm.
And what was your run like after that? Because that was just a draining wind, as I
Yeah,
understand it.
the run
So
was
what was the run like?
the run was tough for me. If I could do it again, I would have packed a jacket in my
Yeah.
transition bag because I just felt really cold
Yeah.
the entire run.
Mhm.
And so it was very draining. I started off okay at an okay pace, and then I forgot to take my ibuprofen at
Mm.
T2, and so I was just so sore and
Uh-huh.
cold. But luckily, I had plenty of time to finish the run, and I finally made it. And
Well,
it was a relief. Yes.
oh, I was going to
But
say,
I kept thinking to myself, yes, like I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna be an Ironman today. Because I knew once I made it to the run, I was gonna be able to do it.
oh, I love it because that's what I was going to say. When you get off the bike, as hard as that bike ride was with the wind, you must have already claimed victory at that point.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Uh,
sure. For
I
sure.
love it.
And I love the fact that you learned something along the way. You're
Oh
talking about the
yeah.
things that you
For
learned,
next
and
time.
all of it, they weren't defeats at all. They were learnings
Oh
for
yeah,
you.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
That's awesome.
So I know, during the run, even though I'm sure you had this energy about you that you knew you were going to finish, at some point we all doubt whether or not we're going to be able to finish. Did you reach that point, or did you have that positive outlook the whole time?
No, there were moments when I wanted to cry because it hurt so much. But I said I can't stop now. I'm so close.
No.
And so I was struggling. It was maybe the last 200 meters going into the chute. I mustered all my energy because I wanted to look good running down the finish line. And so I kind of sprinted down the finish line. And I remember hearing someone I ran past, how did she have all that energy? But it was all mustered, and so I could look good in the photos.
Oh, you did too. It was a great finish photo.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, I love it. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, what an endurance athlete at heart. I mean, your only three triathlons are all, 70.3 or longer. And I mean, that's fantastic. So do you see any sprint or Olympics in your future or what?
Actually, I'd like to try an Xterra triathlon with
Okay.
usually sprint or Olympic because I really enjoy mountain biking.
Yeah.
And I want to try an off-road triathlon because I feel like that would be a very unique experience.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do any of our sprints? We have BBSC does 4 sprint or have 3
Oh yeah,
sprints
I
here,
hear good
and the
things
club
about
does
it.
4 sprints.
Mhm.
Are you going to do some club races?
I'll try. I'll try.
You may find out
I'm down to
it's like,
try.
hey, these are fun because they're short and fast.
Yeah, well, I think my strength is in endurance though, which is why I like
Seems that
doing
way.
the long distance ones. Because I'm not super fast at all with anything.
So how much did your half marathon and marathon mindset or training translate into the 70.3 or the fulls?
I think the marathon training was more about mental strength. Like my body hurts, but I know I can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I pulled from that training.
Yeah.
Okay, if I may ask a specific question, it's like,
Sure.
how do you know the difference between the pain that you feel when you're worn out and your body's hurting, and pain that's doing damage? You know, it's like you're just like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm doing damage to my knees. Do you get 2 different signals, or have you experienced that?
Much the one pain that sometimes bothers me when I'm running is in my knee. But if I guess I should probably get it checked out one of these days. But I found that if I keep running, the pain goes away. And I actually just did a slow twitch 100 runs in 100 days challenge. And it was interesting because my knee didn't really hurt much during all that running. Because when I was training for the Ironman, I was kind of holding back on running for fear that I would hurt my knee and not be able to do the race. And so I would just save all the running for the race.
Right.
And I don't know, it's interesting because my knee sometimes gives me problems, but it hasn't. And I don't know. I still don't know my own body.
Oh,
So
you're still learning. You're still
I'm
learning.
still learning for sure.
Well, and that 100 runs in 100 days, that's no joke either. I mean, that takes a real commitment to getting it done. So congratulations on that.
Oh yeah, thanks. What I like about that challenge is a minimum run was either 20 minutes or 2 miles.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a new appreciation
Yeah.
for shorter exercise periods. Like not every run or workout has to be an hour long. I started to see great value in doing the 2 mile runs or the 20-minute runs. And that's what I really appreciated about that challenge.
Oh, I love that. So that actually leads me to my next question, which is what advice would you give to the new triathletes starting out, whether or not they're going to start out for a sprint or a 70.3?
I think just to believe that you can do it. And even if you might not finish the first time, or if you're struggling or hurting the first time, just keep pushing, keep working at it, and know that it's possible.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. I'm a non-athlete.
Don't, bull. I'm sorry. I got to cut you off on. I got to call on that. Call you on that. When you did an Ironman, you can't say I'm not an athlete and have done an Ironman. You just can't.
Well, I guess I don't have an athletic background. I guess it's more accurate.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Well, you certainly are an endurance athlete at heart, and your determination and persistence. I love this story that you tell about going through these different races and just that persistence. So, Quyen, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. This is great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been fun, and I really enjoyed talking to you. And one thing that I noticed was that regardless of what kind of pain you were talking about, you still had a smile on your face. So
That's right.
and you actually fit really well into John's last year's, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So no, it's been wonderful having you on. Thank you for doing this.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for being an ambassador as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night.